Sexy Red picked up, now her music is, everywhere. You're seeing them talking about her. Does that feel artificial to you at all? So I was interested. I was like, who signed her? Because if you're a person and you're walking around and you can sign anybody and you got the money to sign them, you're gonna tell me that's what stood out? Or is that intentional?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Please like the video and subscribe. Our target is only 1,000 likes. So Sexy Red and Bruno Mars collab that materialized in real time is here at last. After connecting via social media, Sexy Red has linked up with Bruno Mars for their first ever track together, titled Fat, Juicy and Wet. It's a high-octane anthem. The bouncy, roughly 2.5-minute track shows off the unexpected duo's surprising musical chemistry as they trade off parts of the song. Fat, Juicy and Wet transpired on social media, with Bruno Mars taking to Instagram a few weeks back looking to connect with Sexy Red. Bruno Mars wrote an Instagram caption saying, "I'm headed to the studio right now to make a strip club anthem so I can celebrate and properly act up this weekend. Someone please help me get in touch with Sexy Red."
Sexy Red picked up, now her music is, everywhere. You're seeing them talking about her. Does that feel artificial to you at all? So I was interested. I was like, who signed her? Because if you're a person and you're walking around and you can sign anybody and you got the money to sign them, you're gonna tell me that's what stood out? Or is that intentional?
It's intentional, of course.
Of course it's intentional.
Of course it is.
And that's what I'm trying to make Black America aware of, right? That is intentional. Somebody's making that decision. That means somebody turned down a Chris Brown, okay? Turned down a Michael Jackson, turned down a Lauryn Hill and said, that's the one I wanna sign and make her bigger. And when I looked into it, who did that, boy, was I shocked to learn that it was a combo team. But one of the men was a black man who certainly doesn't listen to Sexy Red. He's married to Stephanie Shepard, who's Kim Kardashian's former assistant. And I
think he listens to it.
Oh, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. I played him talking to Oprah and all, and talking about his childhood and how he grew up in a two-parent household and, everything's chummy. And I'm just like, and you're the guy that's like making the decision to sign her? Okay. Apple tech exec and you decide to artificially make this happen? Okay. I'm interested in who owns companies. That's the first thing I always want to look up. Who owns it? Because the rappers aren't making the decisions. They're like, oh, yay, I'm getting signed, amazing. Who makes the decision to put Cardi B on the Grammy stage to perform WAP?
Oh, love Cardi B.
Great, fine. I think she's, by the way, this never gets any play, so I'll say it again. When I first was introduced to Cardi B, my cousin that you just met, I was sick at home and she made me watch Love and Hip Hop. The show is hilarious, okay? The show is hilarious. Cardi B was a star. She just was, okay? She had the it factor. You can't describe what it is, but you know it when you see it. She was very funny. She was self-deprecating. I have said these things about Cardi. You will never find this anywhere printed.
And I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Anywhere printed, because they don't care, right? It's all about making people think. I need Cardi B to evolve now, okay? Because now you have a platform and you put out a song like WAP. And when I read the lyrics, the full lyrics, not what's playing on the radio, I can't even believe. I couldn't.
Oh, Candace,
No. I'm not gonna stop because it offended me this much.
Give me one oak Candace on this.
What do you mean?
I want to hear what one oak Candace thinks about this.
I never would have been okay with it. It's way too, that's why the frequencies are going way downhill, right? Like One Oak Candace was not listening to WAP, okay? What was playing on One Oak in 2011? I mean, come on. Like, music is going downhill fast. And let me tell you something, if a song like that was produced, because you could say the closest you could get to that, and I didn't listen to her music, was Trina, okay? Would they have allowed her to perform on the Grammy stage when we were growing up?
Yeah, but I grew up also on 2 Live Crew.
Fine. What I'm saying is that
And no is the answer.
No is the answer.
No is the answer.
Because the Grammys is supposed to be family friendly, okay? Everyone used to watch the Grammys. You just watch the Grammys, okay? And so when they're making a decision to say, this is who we're putting on the stage, that is a conscious decision that has been made by execs, okay? So we're gonna put Taylor Swift for white America. Who are we gonna put for black America? That's a decision being made in a boardroom. And I want people to understand that. Because we have talent. Black Americans are incredibly talented. Like I said, when it comes to the arts and creativity, I just find Black Americans to be funnier. I think we're also funnier. I think we have a natural sense of humor that we're funnier. Like when we're comedians, we do it the best. Also when we sing, we do it the best.
Eyes of the whole movement, which I've been a beneficiary of. So I don't want to clown it too much, but please tell me about your views on the hoes. Not home wreckers, just the hoes.
I'm so glad you asked me this question because I am a hoologist. I've done academic research
That's
into the
my
matter.
favorite part of you, the hoologist.
Yes, the hoologist. I genuinely am fascinated.
Me too.
The mind of a hoe is fascinating to me.
Me too.
Like, it's just, I can't look away. I remember when I went on the Whatever podcast and I was sitting with 3 hoes and I was just beside myself, you know.
Wait, you did a podcast with hoes?
Yeah. Could you imagine? So
No.
there's this podcast called the Whatever Podcast, and it's just a guy, and he just will pick 3 hoes, and they're like, what do you do for a living? And I mean, I'm a prostitute, and then they go to the next girl.
But how'd you get there?
I'm an OnlyFans model. This is the whole point of the show. Then he just throws in like one conservative in the mix, and
Oh, God.
and at first when a person wanted me to go on the show, I was like, I don't want to sit in a room and listen to hoes for 3 hours.
Oh, that's the best.
I am so glad I went because it was the closest I was like Steve Irwin. I was like, let me get a little bit closer. Like, I
Rest in peace.
I was not worthy. Like, I couldn't believe it. Anyways, I'm fascinated by hoes. I am fascinated by just how quickly we have arrived at this stage, which is a hopocalypse. It's a hopocalypse now. Like, it is, everybody is.
You don't think there's always been?
No, not in this way. No. People are competing to be the biggest hoe. Something tripped over. I actually, with my academic research, I tried to look at the moment where things got really crazy. It was around 2015. Like, something, I'm not saying that hoes didn't exist before, but I mean something switched up where it was like, not only like, because before, if you're a hoe, you weren't like proud. Like, the pride that they have in being a part of the hoedom is fascinating to me, right? Something changed. Where
I theorized
if
this
you,
too.
yeah, if you were a prostitute back in the day, it was something that brought you shame, and you were maybe doing this to make ends meet. Now it's like, no, they are proud of being prostitutes. They are proud of going out to the highest bidder, and so I'm fascinated by it. And something happened in 2015. Amber Walk's Slut March was a moment, I would say. It was a moment.
Okay.
When the hoes were like, not only we're marching and we're proud to be hoes and we're topless and we're here to stay. And I was amazed by this hurricane of hoes that landed very, very suddenly in Los Angeles. And I think that was a moment. And then there was also this weird thing where like Kim Kardashian and Emily Ratajkowski like teamed up on Chloe Grace Moretz. She was at the time like a 19-year-old teenager, and she was, you know, Kim did her like weird host stuff where she's like, LOL, nothing to wear, and she was like fully naked on Twitter. And this teenage girl who's like a very like, you know, I'm not as well known as Kim Kardashian, but she was like, you know, don't you think that you should tell girls that we can be more? And Kim went at her, and then all the hoes jumped on Kim's side, and they just dunked on this teenager. Like, they were in their 30s. Amber Rose jumps in, like the hoes, it was a hoe hive, right? Going after a teenager, and they were like, no, we're here now. Like, we are spiking the ball on people that have morals, right? And I'm fascinated by it. And
Do you not think hoes have morals?
obviously, if you are selling yourself to the highest bidder, you are not morally aspirational, right? Your moral is money, right? Your moral is money. That is a main component of being a hoe, is that you do it because there's a revenue. And so you're willing to do that. I mean, I've done a lot of research. I sat down with a prostitute on my show, and working through her mentality, I was asking her, what about your son? And you could see she didn't want to talk about it. I was like, how do you think it feels for him when his friends can book his mom, right? Just like want to walk through that. And yeah, it's about,
What did she say?
She was like, his friends, he doesn't care. I was like, nobody listening believes you right now. Nobody believes that your son, and we already know how teenage boys are and what he's gonna go through, because you're not just being a hoe, you're a proud hoe. You want people to know your name, right? To know that you offer services, and these are the services, here's how much you have to pay. So there's a lot to unpack there.
You follow the money in all of the topics.
I do.
I like that about you, but it's interesting to know. I don't know, are you able to put it aside ever?
Well, to understand what motivates people to debase themselves and become so outwardly and obviously immoral, and then they get defensive because they know. At the end of the day, you can lie to the whole world, but you're dying with the truth, You will die into yourself. You go to bed, you know it's bullshit. And this is why I say even about jumping back at transgenderism. It's like you could tell everybody, I'm a woman, use the right pronouns. You're a grown man. When you go to bed at night, in the back of your head, you're like, bro, I'm not a woman. This is a joke, right? So they're dying with the truth, but that's why they're so desperate for people to affirm them in their immorality, is because they hope that if enough people lie to them, then the lie will become the truth. And I'm just always gonna be a brick wall with that, right? So yes, being a hoe is immoral. Sleeping with people's husbands is immoral. Just because you're Ariana Grande and you make a ton of money doesn't make you not immoral, right? Everything you've done has been despicable. And people should call you out on that. If they wanna listen to your music and bop to it, fine. Whitney Houston's better. Like, it is what it is. But hoes have created an environment which is even more astonishing. They're not doing this for women. Of course not. What you just said, I benefited from the hoedom. Can a woman stand up and say that they benefited from the hoedom? From the availability of sex?
See, I say yes.
No, they can't. You have benefited, men have benefited.
No, I think that women can say that.
The ones that are selling their bodies can and saying I'm making money, but the ones that have morals and want to date a man that has morals and want to come together and raise children are now having to deal with the fact that these women at the end of the day are porn stars, right? They're trying to dress it up. It's only whatever. You're a porn star by another name. And pornography and addiction to pornography is a major ill in our society, and men are struggling with this. I talk about pornography on my show and the amount of men that go, thank you for even being willing to take on this topic, because it's everywhere. Even we've now edited ourselves where we don't even appreciate or recognize that it's all softcore porn. Look at a Gucci bag and women are half naked. Why? Can you not sell this bag without your titties? I don't understand this. So porn is a cancer. It's a cancer on the mind. There have been so many psychological experiments to what it does to people when they're introduced to it too young. I actually thought it was an act of bravery when Ye spoke about his struggle with pornography, because men don't normally talk about it. Yeah.
And I think a lot of men struggle with this because it's
and they shouldn't be ashamed.
It's right in our face.
Yeah.
But that kind of ties into the whole movement. I think you hit some of that on the head with your Kim Kardashian talk. But Instagram, period. I do remember when it was for pictures. People would wake up and take pictures of the sun rising and, hey, this is what I ate today. I remember that in 09-ish. And I also remember the influx, not even the influx, but the basketball wives joining Instagram. And then the pictures became, very luxurious. It was courtside, it was bags, it was jewelry, it was trips. It was all these things that are attractive to women. And I think that one of the ways to get in that game is flesh and to show it. And then we've seen the rise from that. That's all they use Instagram for. And now it's a soft porn site, and now the guys are just
And guys are biologically wired. So why I always want men to hear, don't be ashamed about having that conversation, because how unfair. Men are biologically wired differently to women. Everything that surrounds them is tempting them with this addiction, right? And then you'll have women on the other side of that talking about men and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we are the biggest perpetuators of pornography are women, okay? And then he cheated on me. Men ain't shit. Guys, there's a yin and a yang here, and we have weakened men. We continue to weaken men. Women continue to weaken men, because that's what pornography ultimately does. It weakens men. It does. And the people that purvey pornography, the ones that are making the money off it, know it. They know that. They know it's weird. But it's thought of. There are people that are Machiavellian, thinking about how do I weaken this person and turn him to a slave of his desires, right?